Michael Lovato said something to me one time. He said it's like the second place curse. They don't need to change anything. They just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
and how would you relate your 2017 performance to 2018?
I was flying high after Kona 2017 because it did seem so simple. I'd lost by about 0.5%. Lang was 0.5% better than me, and that when you present it that way, you're like, oh, I can do that. I can be 0.5% better, right? But I did, for sure, it got into my head. I was like, well, you outran me by so much. Then I started to become like conscious of my weight and stuff. And it's like, the best example is when I went to Oceanside 2018 and then Jan outswam bike and ran me. And then I literally threw like everything out the window that I knew. Just because he outswam bike and ran me. That shouldn't have any effect on me. You should have went home and did a deep dive into, well, why did he outswim bike and run me? Not, oh, what you're doing doesn't work, you need to change everything now. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's called insecurity. And so, but it takes you years to grow in knowledge and confidence in yourself, you know? That takes a long time. And so it's taken me 12 years as a pro to get there.
Yeah, only getting started when it's midnight, keeping it tight. If it wanna go to war, it can get dark, but we stay bright. Coming like a night, it's on sight, if it touch my sleeve. Around there, wanna disagree when it's clear that I'm speaking facts. Man like me, you know I'm proactive, never gonna stop till I see the big man's on.
Your last race, you talked about goals. Are your goals to win the world title?
Is that a goal? I don't know why we call that a goal. That's a dream. It's a dream of mine to win a world title. I try and balance having external goals and internal goals, yes, and it can be very difficult at times, especially when you live and die by performance. But I've come to find that certainly in practice, you need to have an external goal, because otherwise what are you training for? You know what I mean? You're training to try and achieve something. If I just wanted to exercise, that would be very easy. Just sit on this bike for an hour and do whatever you want, and there you go, exercise, done. So I do have external goals, of course. You know, today, for instance, that'll be extracting the most out of myself within the context of winning that I can. And so the workout on the bike today is 10 to 12 times 5 minutes. I'm shortening the reps. My power output has been quite poor, so we need to shorten the reps so that I can allow myself the ability to both mentally and physically push a lot of power. And so what's the minimum power, in my opinion, if you want to win a major race and you can't swim front pack? 370 watts. That is the minimum for 2 hours. So therefore, if I'm doing an interval, then it needs to be at least 370 watts. And so that's now moved more to an intrinsic thing, is I can control how much power I push. And so if I have to do 1 minuters today, then do 1 minuters. But we need to be moving towards this extrinsic goal, which is to win a major race. And I've deemed that the minimum to do that is 370 watts. And so, but now I've brought it back to myself, and I can control that. And even if I go to a major race and I average 370 and I don't win and I don't even pull back time on the bike, at least I achieved my intrinsic goal, which I thought beforehand was enough to be able to compete. And if it turns out it's not, well, I can't really ask much more than going and following my hypothesis and seeing it through to fruition and achieving it. And so I won't be upset then in that scenario if I'm able to do it. And then I'll go back to the drawing board and try and figure out a better plan after if I don't achieve the goal. But that's how I will work, balancing extrinsic and intrinsic goals. pretty hard. Once again, I can already tell I'm gonna label this workout excellent. You see, I could be riding pretty hard and the numbers be 350 or 360, which would be not training to win, right? And then you'd have to ask yourself, is that because 350 to 360 is my potential on the top end? And well, that's where experience comes in, because I know that that's not my potential. You know, I've done 367 outside for 2 straight hours, so I already know that's not my potential. And so that would then inform that I'm too tired. If I'm going pretty hard and the numbers are not in the realm of at least what it takes to win, which, as we discussed earlier, is 370. Really hard. Didn't even need a lactate meter or a heart rate monitor to tell me it. Woo! That's good. That's a good heart. Touch that every now and then. You don't need much of that. That's what you call upon at the end of the race. Is really hard. There is not a second to give away. Like, not a second, man. Goals, goals, goals. You won't go anywhere if you don't set some goals. Stuff don't achieve itself. So yeah, you definitely got to set some goals. And so a goal would be something to work towards. Something, a proper goal is something that's going to challenge you, but that you can, if you really work hard at it, you can get to it. And I mean, you can do that in anything, right? You can do that in your diet. You can do that in the time that you wake up. Like, there's a million ways you can set goals to yourself, and you should. A life without goals is a life not living. Certainly, my goals in my life has been probably the most meaningful and satisfying thing of my, aside from marrying Aaron and having Levi, those are probably my most satisfying things that I've done, is set goals and work towards them. So goals are extremely important.
How much has it adapted, though, from your workouts to your race results to all that, setting goals? How has it changed for you?
There was probably a period where I wasn't really setting many goals. We made a video about this. Once again, if you don't, I'm blessed in the sense that I've been able to set goals in when I discovered triathlon. I set goals and I was able to achieve them, and then those goals just happened to also be pretty good in the context of the sport of triathlon. But it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to be like setting goals like, oh, I want to win the Muskoka 70.3. You know what I mean? Like, that just so happened that it was within my capacity. And I knew that, but that's not everybody's path. That's my path, right? So there's going to be many people who set goals in triathlon and fail, who set external goals to win things and fail. You know what I mean? I've failed for now 12 straight years trying to win the world title. I've set that as a goal. Now, saying you have that as a goal and actually doing the things required to make your goal somewhat of a reality are two very different things. People say crap all the time. Talk is cheap. People are all constantly talking about doing things. I'm talking about doing things and wasn't acting on it. And so, that's a very internal thing. Setting a goal and actually working to achieve it, and setting a goal that is meaningful is important, and also within the realms of possibility. Obviously, if I set a goal to break the world record in the 1500 in the swim, that's so stupid and unrealistic that's just talking, right? That's not going to happen. You're not going to do that, unfortunately. So you've got to set goals. Of course, it's satisfying to set goals in areas that you're actually good at, because then you get some satisfaction because you work towards them and you actually start to achieve things along the way, which then is like a positive snowball effect. So yeah, this is a deep topic that is relative to every person, right? It's very different for every person. And so, you know, I've won a lot of races and I literally can't remember a lot of the ones that were easy, you know? Like I can't even remember them. But I can very well remember the ones I lost in hard battles, right? I very well remember them. And so that's why goals need to also be, to be meaningful, they also need to be challenging, really challenging. If I ever won the world title, I can't even imagine the emotion that would come out of my body, you know what I mean? Because I've tried now for this has been sort of a goal of mine for 15 years. And I failed and failed and failed and failed. And so it's like, but I almost achieved it, you know? In 2017, I almost did it. So it's within the realms of possibility. It should be so hard that you don't really know if you can do it, you know? I don't know how satisfying it was for Jan or how satisfying it is for Christian, etc. when they're like, yeah, I'm gonna win. I just don't know how satisfying that is. I could see that being very hollow. You know, when I don't know if I can win. If I ever win, it will come as it won't come as a surprise, but it will be like, it will have taken literally everything in my being. And that's a great goal. You know, that's a goal that will push you for 15 years and make you reinvent yourself over and over and over again. And want to retire, but then be like, no, come on. There's more. You can do it. You might be able to do it. And that's so fun. And so it's like that's the proper goal. That's a goal you want to set for yourself. I'll go up this way. All right, I'll see you in 20.
Can you control other people though? Like what if other people get in the way of accomplishing your goals?
This is why you have to have both external and internal goals, and you have to be able to hold them both at the same time for that very reason, because you can't control other people. We're all in this sport, and this is purely just as an example, there's 100 men who have set the goal to win the world title this year, right? Let's say 20 of them, that's a realistic goal, something like that. It's a semi-realistic goal, something like that. And one will win. So are we all failures? You know, the 100 who've set that as a goal this year, right? Are we all failures? Well, yes. From a goal standpoint, yes. But that's why your self-worth and that's like an external thing. So you need to have the internal thing, because the internal thing is really the most important one. Because if you don't have the internal one, then the stupidity of doping comes in, when you're a failure if you don't hit that goal. Internally, you're a failure. And so then you cultivate like a win at all costs attitude, which is a horrible attitude. And so yes, then you have to at the same time hold this internal set of goals as we've been talking about, which is like, if I can swim, just for the 70.3, because I've been racing 70.3s, if I can swim 24 low, if I can hold 370 on the bike, and if I can run in like that 108 range, 108 low range off of that kind of a bike, I know that's gonna get me close. It's gonna get me close if the race is fair, you know what I mean? It's not literally a draft legal race. That's gonna get me close to winning the world title. And if I do that and I finish 5th, I'm all good. I'm totally good. And then I'll go back to the drawing board after, or I'll be like, that was everything. That'll be cool too. I hope to achieve that one day, where I finish a race and I'm like, that was everything. That was everything. And then my work will be done. Then I will be able to move on to something else, because that's what's driving me now. is like, I do also want to, particularly in the Ironman, be like, that was excellent. That was excellent. You trained excellent. You executed excellent. And the day, everything you did was excellent. And then I will be happy with that, because that's all I can really do. And if I never win the world title, it's all good. If I do that though, or come close anyway to doing that, which I believe I can at least come close to doing that, absolute satisfaction. Time for me to move on. Coach people to one day experience the same thing.